Are moving along quite a bit. We've done quite a bit of work with the subgroup, meeting with the architect and the W.T. Rich, and you will be hearing some information on that. We do have some updates, and that's all I have for Chairman's comments. I will be, reserve my comments for item 10 on the. Okay, review and approve the minutes. I hope everybody got a copy of the minutes and reviewed, and there were corrections made. Have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, sorry, I abstained. I wasn't at the meeting. Updates, meetings and working groups.
The working group has had several meetings since we all last met as a group, and in addition, there's been a couple of meetings with other town agencies to review aspects of the project. One of the first was the health department to look at the kitchen and the layouts associated with the revised kitchen plans. And they received an advance copy, and Frank completed a review, had a couple of suggestions that were later rolled into the documents for 60%. And the kitchen right now is where it needs to be. It has everything that the committee has requested, all the new equipment. Also the plumbing board approved the single bathroom, which the health department, as well as the plumbing inspector was in agreement on. So we wouldn't have to lose any space for any additional restroom facilities. Raleigh Community Media was also brought in to discuss what their needs would be to provide infrastructure, so that we could provide infrastructure in the all-purpose room, so that you didn't have the need to have cords running everywhere when various town meetings were held, or any other town groups that would be I shouldn't say advertised, would be projected on cable. And those requirements are ongoing to the design right now.
But just to add to that, the idea there would just be to provide for infrastructure, not actual camera equipment. And so once that happens at some point in time, based on that, the cable company or the town or somebody else may go and make a determination that in order to facilitate that, they might need new cameras or something. We're not carrying that as part of the project, just so everybody is aware.
We do have a concern about town meeting, where we moved up the timeline to the April school vacation, that town meeting is April 30th, and that we meet in the all-purpose room.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're discussing various options.
Yeah, we have a long and lengthy discussion on logistics.
As part of this tonight,
Come
we
later
can
tonight.
follow up on that, Joe, too, with W.T. Rich.
Yep.
We weren't aware of the town specifically. We might be able to, they want to get into the kitchen. They
Right.
want to do the duck bank. So we might be able to have them stay out of the all-purpose room itself for 2 more weeks.
However, the gym is the same size as the all-purpose room, so we could have the town meeting in the gym. It's It's the exact same size.
When,
Yeah.
yeah, Brian
We
mentioned
had
that
talked
to
about
me,
it.
and
Right.
when he told me it was about the same size, I said,
Yep.
that
We
sounds
can
like
have all
a
the
good
chairs set up, we can
alternative.
set up a little staging area.
Right. And the camera work, it's
Yeah.
just filmed
Right.
for showing later anyway. I did have a long discussion with Debbie just before coming over here, and that she had quite a few concerns about the septic system and other issues with the meeting with Frank Mastriani.
Oh, well, there's,
Yeah, she wanted, she was clear, Frank was clear, that he wants us to, we're gonna reuse the 2 septic tanks and also the grease tank. And so he just wanted to make sure that we were gonna arrange this, actually test those tanks to make sure they're in quality condition and for reuse, and they're not gonna, fail a couple of years down the line.
Right.
So
So
we're
you're
starting
gonna
that
meet with that
process. We've reached out to our wastewater engineer, gotten the criteria, confirming with our plumbing engineer, because he's in charge of the grease tank. So once we have those criteria, we're gonna work with WT Rich to get those tested to that criteria and just confirm that they are suitable for reuse.
Okay.
working group has been reviewing several different issues. One is an early start, which we will discuss in greater detail as we get deeper into these, the agenda for tonight. The other item that we have been working through is qualifying the final room space layouts and their equipment needs or furniture needs. In terms of built-in furniture, the movable furniture is something that will come, later in the process. We've also reaffirmed building security and control and access points and how that will occur. There was a meeting with the Conservation Commission agent to walk the site. The survey crew came back out and restaked various points of concern for them. Edge of leach field, some wetlands boundaries, and there was a site walk to review those and the process associated with the wastewater permits has started with the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, the notice of intent has been opened. There will be at least one more, probably 2 more follow-up hearings on that. In addition, there's the stormwater calculations. That will be opened as a hearing by Concom, but right now it's being reviewed by the third-party engineer that the planning board has on retainer. Absorbing that cost through the project. But, so that review is in process. There's 2 components to Concom: stormwater, in terms of managing stormwater that arrives at the entire site, and then review of any work relative to the resource buffers.
The last update is the MSBA has assigned a commissioning agent to the project, and they will act to provide peer review of the documents that are produced at Doran Whittier with their consultants. And they will be starting with their first task of reviewing the 60% drawings, which were issued on the 9th. We have copies that we could leave tonight. And we're in the process of having those documents priced by 2 independent, WT Rich is doing one, the pricing studies, and the other is by PM&C, the estimator who Doran Whittier has hired. And we are scheduled to have those numbers on the 25th of October, and we are sitting together as a group, the contractor, OPM and architect on the 27th
To reconcile.
to reconcile the 2 estimates.
Could you email me the minutes for the working group meetings?
Yep, yeah, those are going into a Dropbox.
Those are available in the same location as these minutes as well.
Okay.
Should be on the Triton website, it's when they're uploaded.
Yeah, any other questions? Everybody has a current calendar, and timeline. After tonight's meeting, I hope to be able to update the timeline for an earlier construction start. Right now it reflects what has been previously shown as starting, the day after school ends in the summer. But we continue to hit our milestones and make our document completion dates. And we're in the process of getting drawings to the MSBA that they're reviewed at 60%. One of the things that will need to be forwarded at that time will be the cost estimate.
Do we have a meeting on the 17th with the MSBA?
We do.
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
Which
There's-
one is that?
It's a 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
They're referring to it as a handoff meeting. They have another, I like to say division at the MSB. And there's an additional group that takes the project once it gets out of feasibility and into the full project funding, which I expect any day to get the signed copy from them. They asked for an additional piece of information the beginning of the week, and I was able to get that to them yesterday, and I'm just waiting for them to put their signature. I know Joe has signed on behalf of the town, so we're just waiting for the MSBA signature.
Can I just confirm, I have that listed as the 18th for that MSBA meeting.
Tuesday.
17.
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 17th.
I asked you to put that in the calendar. I think I texted you the other day, because I don't think I saw it in the Google.
Oh, no, it's not
Yeah.
either.
There's no invite for it.
Yeah, no, not yet. We'll
That
add
one
it.
goes to Google.
I have the 17th also.
There's also a second component to, I believe they wanted the designers to do a presentation.
Yeah,
to
yes,
them on
yeah,
their-
yeah.
That's just gonna be an update.
Which I think is fine.
Yeah.
We haven't changed much from the
No.
last time it was presented.
We actually just did a presentation to the teachers, and we'll probably repeat the same presentation, maybe less boards and more phasing.
Did we turn that today? Yeah.
The next item is phasing logistics. As everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but a good portion of the group has heard that there is the desire to start construction sooner than what has been previously discussed. And the reasoning is to get a jump on as many activities as possible, because there's a lot of work being compressed into a very tight window. And we have talked about it for 2 consecutive working group meetings previous. What is desired is to start the installation of a duct bank for the new electrical service, as well as take over the kitchen and the all-purpose room and begin that reconstruction work. Refeeding the building would occur through the all-purpose room, hence the reason for needing the space.
I have the plans, Larry, that
Yep.
we went over at the last working group. And this emerged out of our discussions with, especially Harvey at WT Rich, and the amount of work that needs to be done both in the building and on the site over the summer. It's really too much, especially when you consider how long it takes to do a kitchen. We need to gut the existing kitchen with alterations to gut the kitchen. Slice open the slab, put new grease traps, drains in, order and install all new equipment, resurface the walls, put up new ceilings, tie everything together, fire protection, et cetera. That's a huge amount of work. It's really too much to do in just a summer, which is only 8 weeks. And also, the new electric room and the new boiler room need to be up and running by the start of school sooner. Because as I was saying to the teachers, basically all the systems for the school, whether it's mechanical, electrical, plumbing, technology, phones, we're gonna need to maintain 2 systems throughout construction. Unrenovated, waiting to be renovated spaces will continue to be served by the existing systems, so they just need to be operational. And new spaces will need to be connected to the new systems. So we need to have duplicates basically up and running by September 1st. So when you start to really think about how much is involved in the sequencing of that, multiple trades that have to follow each other, it's really just not enough time. And we've talked in detail with Christine and the staff
We have a
on their
plan in
side.
place.
We've talked, Chris Walsh, and Chris is here, and we've reached out to food service too.
I met with them on Tuesday, and we have another follow-up meeting next Tuesday. That will include Michelle, Chris, Lucinda, our district food services manager, director, and our head custodian here, and Melinda Carey, our kitchen manager. So we've already got the ball rolling. We have a plan in place for the last 8 weeks of school upon returning from April vacation.
So as Larry said, the main scope of work is, as you start, is the all-purpose room and the kitchen. And then the orange, you'll see this in these drawings, orange represents a construction fence. We would fence off the zone where the duct bank will be installed. That's a series of underground pipes that will hold power and tell data, mostly power lines.
One of the things about putting the duct bank in, we'll still be able to maintain the entry roadway without impacting it. So it's all off the travel ingress and egress.
Right, we've been working with our engineers, landscape as well, to adjust that, make sure that it's all gonna work out. We've shifted the transformer slightly, because it needs to be in a location that's not in the road now, and not in the road when the new road gets installed. So that's why there's this overlay. The gray represents the existing paving. You can't really see it so much in this drawing, but the darker lines represent the new paving.
John, could you just laser point the conduit bank?
Yeah, so this is the
That's
duct
it.
bank.
Okay, the duct bank
And
is
the
right there.
transformer will go there, generator will go just about there. I think actually we will lose 1 parking space for the installer.
That red line around there is intended to be the fence, we're trying to close that work. So there's a little snake through there to get the concrete duct bank.
So is the pole gonna be moved that's currently in that little traffic island right in the middle of the driveway?
That island, which doesn't quite show up, but it's right here. That island largely will remain?
No, I
as-
mean the utility pole on 1A, Main Street.
Oh, that island.
Because it looks like it's, yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
I just didn't
underground?
get it right.
Yeah.
That pole's gonna remain, because as you know, right, that pole goes to that pole, goes to that pole, to that pole, and then into the building. So again, existing utilities have to remain up and running.
Okay.
Well, with electrical, when we have the new service in connection, the new switchgear, we'll take the existing switchgear, the main distribution, and we'll backfeed that from the new switchgear, and then all the overhead wires can actually come out of that.
So all the aerial up there?
Yeah, but I believe the pole out by the street stays, and then from there we go underground, right? Is that what
It
we're
gets-
doing?
We're gonna put a
It gets
new pole
moved.
in.
Doesn't
It
Oh,
gets
it's gonna be-
shifted,
that's
well, a
right.
new pole gets set.
Yeah,
just a little bit
Yeah,
away, and-
maybe 18, 20 inches.
You're right, Joe, we will be able to take the power lines down, but there's also a Verizon Comcast line.
Yeah,
which-
those-
on that, which,
We'll leave those in, Gary.
so those poles will remain. We may have a second pole as we put the new pole in temporarily.
But eventually all those are coming in through that.
Right. Eventually, these poles will be unnecessarily removed. But that might not be till second summer. So, and I get seriously, these plans, the first one is obviously crucial, because school's still in session, and that's the whole point of these plans, and that's why we met with the working group, is to work out the balance between the contractors' needs, make sure that we had access for the contractors, that they have a work area, basically the softball field, the back area is gonna be fenced off, so they can put storage trailers and their supervisory offices up there. They're gonna probably use this area as lay down. The idea was to use this portion as parking, but then we also learned from our wastewater engineer that we need to fence off the existing leach field. It has very minimal cover, and it could easily be damaged, so we're gonna just put a snow fence around that, so if it gets laid down and driven over it. That takes away a fair amount of space. Also, this fence is held off the school. The red arrows represent egress doors, right? So, you can still get out of the gym or on both entrances. You can get out of the nurse's office, out of the north wing. There may be some adjustments as we go through this to the rendezvous points in terms of fire alarms and evacuations. We talked about that with administration. So, we're trying to find that balance to make sure that we still have a safe and functional site for school use and for construction. One other little thing we talked about this, we met with Parks and Rec. Currently, the soccer fields are striped a little bit over the property line because the property line's not readily apparent when you stand in the middle of the grass. That will be remedied come this spring. We'll talk to them about that because we want to put the construction fence right around the edge of the property line. And this portion of fence will stay up throughout the project, and then you'll see the rest of the fence will expand and contract as we move through the phases. Summer, basically the whole site then gets fenced off and becomes the kind of responsibility of the contractors. Christine and Sue and the main office are gonna move off-site up into a district location, just because it's with the amount of work, especially needs to be done out front, it's really impossible to maintain a safe public entrance for parents who would be trying to register safe for kindergarten. So they will move off-site, but then they will have new spaces when they come back in September as part of the first phase. So in full phase one, not only is the work on the kitchen and all-purpose room, electric and boiler room continuing, but the main office and front vestibule is worked on, nurse as well, guidance, and the start of work on music and art in the back. By September, though, we need to make sure that it's ready for school. We talked at the teachers' meeting that Emma brought it up at this point. We also need to, I don't know this, but we need to allot a little time for the teachers to pack their boxes and move into their new temporary rooms. We won't go through it here, but Emily has done a comprehensive plan. It's a few tweaks, but it's really detailed, and every teacher has a spot for each 5 phases. And we tried to minimize the disruption, but the teachers will have to move.
Not all.
Not all the time.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
But it's still.
So in phase 2, when school starts, kitchen is finished, all-purpose rooms are all new, front entrance and nurse and administration are set up, and then work is finishing up on the art, gross motor, and guidance and music. And then, so that you can see the overall fence will probably stay up, but the internal division will revert to sort of what it was in the spring, where it's held off the east and north wing. Not sure if that's right. I think we're gonna leave that open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, There's a little refinement. There still could be access to the soccer fields. Then, so that will be a relatively short phase, phase two. And then phase three is a mini phase. It's the upper level of the south wing. So again, contractor area is still in the back. And now, it's the north wing, sorry, James, there'll be a fence up around there. There'll still be an egress path. And the first floor, the lower level of the south wing will be occupied, but we, W.T. Rich and our future mechanical contractor will be bringing in the mechanical units, placing them on the roof, and starting doing the upper level and starting the process of the ductwork to serve both levels. That's why we're starting on top, because the lower level will be fed from the rooftop units.
Can I ask a question? So that's the upper south, but will we still have access to get out to the playground with that fencing?
Yeah, access from the lobby in the back.
Yeah, okay.
The fencing will be held back there.
Can I ask a question? With the upper south being worked on and the lower south being occupied at the same time, what's the noise level going to be during the day? Is there any?
So construction hours, that's an excellent point. Right. The plan is to do primarily what we call in the trade second shift. And that's, we're gonna write the specs to that. So second shift usually starts at 2 o'clock, and we start at kids' school.
We were talking about this today. We can specify whatever we want. We might do 4 to midnight for the second shift. And we're gonna, subs are notorious for trying to avoid second shift. We're gonna work on the first shift. And we may, not so much, yeah, for this phase, we may be doing a double shift. And we've got to write the specs such that everyone understands the second shift is the primary shift. You're not allowed to work on the first shift unless you're working on the second shift with a full crew. And the focus will be especially on noise generating activities. So we're thinking about, I was gonna ask what time, what kind of after-school programs you have, and what time do we need, when's a good time, like if we start at 4, at like 3:30, construction vehicles are gonna be coming in and
Yeah, so
coming in,
buses
parking.
depart at no later than 3:10.
Okay. So we don't, like, we could go to 2 and come in before you guys, the subs would like it a little bit better, like more overlap with the first shift. We can talk about it later
Okay.
and just try to figure out if, it's not super disruptive. I mean, people are driving their cars and walking in and going into the work site. Deliveries, we can restrict and say deliveries have to be either before 7:30 in the morning or after 4 p.m., because that's bigger trucks and vehicles.
Yep.
We can kind of talk about that, but most of the noise, some of this, the demo phase, some of the other phases, I mean, they generate noise. We're really gonna try to push that stuff into the second shift, although the amount of work that's happening in the 10 or so week period does require, we believe, two shifts for most of the duration. So it's not gonna be possible to get every bit of noise generating activity into the second shift, but the sort of borderline stuff we might try to do on first shift, and if we get some complaints, we might push more and more. It's gotta be a communication and dialogue. It's a very important issue that we're sensitive to.
And once we start construction, we'll be having weekly construction meetings with the OPM, architect, contractor. We would be glad to have a couple representatives of the school.
I was already told I need to be there.
Yeah, that would be great, because that's a general plan, and WT Rich will do all they can to minimize the disruption, but on a weekly basis, everyone will have a much better idea of exactly what's going to happen in the upcoming week. It's a chance for you all, the owner, to provide feedback, we have, school event that night, or it's parent-teacher conferences or testing, and we can work around that.
We could discuss the idea of a second and third shift only, but, there is a cost premium. Subs they're not thrilled to do that work. You might get fewer bidders, you might get less aggressive bidders. I think the first and second shift is good. They're gonna delude themselves into thinking that they can work first shift, and they're gonna bid it aggressively, and then they're gonna find out that that's not the way the specs are written. They'll have to just deal with it. It's not really that much more cost to them anyways, but it's not always as attractive for their workers to work on those shifts. We've done plenty of projects like this, and they step up when they need to.
So, from above, phase 4 looks just like phase 3, but we're now working on the lower floor of the south wing instead of the upper floor. And that should run into mid-spring, more or less.
Is that opposite on the timeline here?
Upper and lower?
Phase 3, south wing, first floor.
We changed that a while ago, so this is not,
I
this
just wanna
document
make sure
like
I got
that.
right, so when I
Upper
tell
stops
people.
first and then
Slides
lower
are-
stops.
Okay,
So it was switched.
Okay,
Because we need to put these large rooftop units
yeah.
up on the roof, and install steel, cut the roof open. And there would be nothing to connect the first floor classrooms to if you did that first. So you
I just
gotta
wanna make sure I'm
stop.
gonna communicate
Yeah,
that.
that was the original, and we
Okay.
did switch it, but like, in this
Sounds good.
document, just didn't get updated.
All right, and then phase 5, it's gonna be an awful lot of work, but it will be over the summer, and the site will be entirely, again, under the contractor's control. Again, the main office will move off-site over the course of the summer. We're gonna, in both summers, I should say, we'll manage deliveries at the end, materials, kitchen, et cetera, try to constrain them as much as possible. We also talked to Chris about managing cleaning, which needs to be done in both cases. We'll try to constrain that and allow. So over the second summer, then the balance of the site work will be done, includes underground water infiltration systems, which are part of stormwater management, as well as the new septic field will be installed at this time.
This is, it used to be that the first summer was the most challenging phase, and then graciously, we requested and graciously, we give tentative acceptance of starting earlier. Now this is definitely the most challenging phase. You know, you have 9 weeks to do all this work, this site work alone is intense, so. I think the site work is in pretty good shape. I mean, we're doing, I think 40,000 square feet in that east wing.
Because it's the upper and the lower.
Yeah.
Yes.
So are you starting with the upper, or is it the whole thing happening at the same time?
That one, there won't be much distinction between the first floor and the second floor. I mean, the demo guy will start somewhere probably upper. If he's not down on the first floor in like 4 days, like selective trades like that, because he's gonna do a baking stuff, they'll be working like triple shifts for the first like week of the summer. Be a very aggressive schedule to start.
And so then you said 9 weeks, so that brings us to, what does it bring us to? Okay.
Yeah.
First,
I mean, it depends when
Let's write it down.
we get the space. It's either 8 or 9 weeks. July and August is sort of roughly 8 weeks, but if we can get it done last week in June, we'll take it. You guys still have to move belongings, vacate
Right.
that whole thing, I don't know about snow days.
I was just gonna say, if we have no snow days, we're good. But again,
Snow days
teachers are
are
gonna
gonna
need
be-
time
yeah, I mean,
to
that's what I'm
go
thinking.
outside.
Yeah.
Set up
I
their
was
classrooms
thinking
for
first, yeah.
September.
Because this is when everyone moves into their new final
Correct.
location.
Well, we'll just have Pine Grove start a week later.
So the thing that's tough with this is.
We have to.
Then we have to go
Serious.
later in June.
I was just gonna say, we have to, but.
5 days of field day outside.
There you go.
That's a good idea.
Run
We did
the
talk
children
about if
in
there's
smoking
any way to
truck.
start some of this phase a little early. I mean, we're actually done with the phase before, like in May. So the project's kind of sitting idle for about 6 weeks. And, but it's not like you're gonna free up all that space, so we started toying with a couple things. I'd say that's still a little bit of discussion we wanna have. If there's something we can.
Do something with the
somehow
gymnasium
do.
early.
Or like upper,
Yeah, I mean,
if there's classrooms.
we probably can't do much, because the kindergartens need their dedicated bathrooms, right, on the lower floor.
Right, so if upper, because I'm thinking all the fifth and sixth, fourth, fifth, and sixth are gonna be in the upper east wing for a period of time, but fourth grade should be able to move into their space. and then fifth and sixth, at least we have the older kids, so we can like.
You have the open classrooms in.
Right, we can figure out those open spaces and use those, cause if that would be.
The additional
figure
gross
that
motor
out, that
room down
would-
in the north
Right,
wing could be a
right.
temporary
And
classroom.
the fifth and sixth graders, I mean, it's not ideal, but I feel like we could be more flexible in that way, where they are older kids, that we can.
Cause we just wanna get her done.
Right, and I'm just thinking that August 31st, like for,
Yeah.
like, are the classrooms, and I know for you guys, it's probably just, if it would stretch it out, that might be.
I mean, we have had school projects where that last summer, they've started the latest they're legally allowed to start. You know, they buy us an extra week, believe it or not. You know, in 1 week is adding like 12% of the schedule, so it does matter. But I think that last part, we're still have some, you know, we're slowly asking Christina for more and more.
Hey, I'm
more
all
and more,
for it.
And every
We'll
time
make
she
it
says
work.
yes, so.
We'll make it work.
So, yeah, we still have to work out some of that last final details.
Hopefully our staff all likes each other.
Yeah, let's call
And like I
it
said, I think that both
Refinement.
sixth grade.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that's our term,
totally fine.
refinement.
Literally with
Fine.
the
I think
classrooms.
we'd be relieved
Subtle.
if that was the case, it's starting earlier.
The kids are gonna be so excited that first week coming into the new school anyway, that a little bit of chaos is gonna be part of the, for
Correct.
them.
All right, so we'll look at that. So that's, statistics, I just tried to follow.
Yep, no, that's fine.
Can we go back to the, early start?
Yeah.
Yep.
How many weeks are you asking to start early? And how many contractors are asking for this early start? What's the?
So it's a good question. So no contractors are asking. We don't have any contractors on board yet, but the number of contractors involved will be primarily we will have all our contractors on board. We initially talked about like a May 1st, and then we were so close to April vacation that we agreed on the start of April vacation. We want to be very aggressive with some of that work, that 1 week we have. So that's how far, that's where the advancement in the start is. Now, for us, the beginning of.
So we're talking 1 week?
What's that?
We're
Well,
talking 1 week?
No, the
No,
total
it's six-
advancement
it's
is.
6 weeks, yeah.
Is it six?
No,
Eight.
it's
Eight.
it's
It'll be
8
eight.
weeks. It's 8 weeks.
April vacation to the last day of school is 8 weeks.
Yeah. And it'll mainly be, demolition contractor will be the main one, any abatement and demolition. Then there'll be a site work contractor working on the duct bank outside, that involves the electrical contractor as well. So for that main thing, getting the jump start on, it would be a lot of, the kitchen, we gotta completely gut the kitchen, and then there's a lot of new, under slab, utilities, plumbing utilities primarily. So we'll be saw cutting the slab, trenching those out, putting in those new utilities, that'll be a lot of that work during that. By the way, that,
So right now, it's your estimate that you need that additional 8 weeks' time.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this has been talked about a lot, we've talked about it a little bit, you know, way back when we proposed in this project, it was labeled a limited scope repair project. And the good news for you guys is you're getting a lot more than what I think people would associate with a limited scope repair. You're still getting it within budget, but it is pretty much a comprehensive renovation project, I would say. I mean, all the MEPs are being replaced, the windows are being replaced, all the finishes are being, ceilings, floors, everything's being replaced. So the scope has increased, the budget seems to be in line with what you guys can afford, but the magnitude of work has really put some pressure on what we can get done and what kind of time period compared to when we were kind of viewing this as a limited scope repair. I think we thought, we made some assumptions about what that would mean and how much time we would require. And this first summer in particular, if you go way back to the RFP, it's not clear that the kitchen's getting gutted and replaced back at the RFP stage, that sort of emerged over time. So as the scope has increased, we found out that where we trenched the all-purpose room to bring in the new electrical service underground, under slab, that there's tie rods on the columns, and we have to saw cut in the slab,
So,
and we can't cut those or disturb those, so we have to saw cut, trench, dig underneath, leave a section of the slab in, saw cut. I mean, there's things like that that are sort of being revealed to us as adding some.
Now, does that add 8 weeks to the cost, or?
No, he
is
said
it-
it's all within the cost still, it's just giving them more flexibility and timing.
I want him to say that.
So what he can say it too, but I think what we're talking about is, we've got this reconciliation on the 27th, and that's going to go and tell us, are we still within the overall budget cap? What John's doing is he's putting a little bit of marker out there, understandably, because his scope's gone up. Now, when we're looking at this, we're still doing it within the same time frame, but, he's double shifting, sometimes triple shifting, because it's more. So his scope might be going up, and what we have to do is see, how does that all get absorbed within the budget? Just like we had a design and pricing contingency that was included as part of it. So, maybe that design and pricing contingency is picking up some of that additional cost instead of picking up, something where we, might have had windows or something. So we'll know on the 27th, but, we've all been saying, and we'll continue to say it, we know we've got to meet that budget. So if all of a sudden, the schedule push that's associated with having to get this done based on, it's a more comprehensive renovation than these guys originally thought. If that pushes something else, well, then we're gonna have to find something else that we cut back, because we know we've only got so many dollars in the budget. So I think that's how we're approaching it right now.
Does this affect only phase 1 as far as starting early and finishing at about the same time, or does that mean that we finish, we'll say, earlier than 8 weeks at the end?
No, we're gonna be right up, we're gonna be right up to the wire. When we're, like, phase 5 there was saying, August 31st. So it's going right up to the wire, so we're looking at all of the things that we have to do and accomplishing that through the phasing plan that John just put, and then all of the stuff that Emily's done in terms of rotation with all of the classrooms and all of the teachers, and then working that into, his construction plan and schedule to go and see how that all works. And when we started putting that all together, I think, particularly with respect to the first phase, we were seeing the pressure there, even if we were double or triple shifting. And so, we're looking at trying to balance that out, so maybe you can go earlier, and maybe you don't have to triple shift as hard and look at paying a premium or something like that associated with that less desirable third shift. So all of those parts are kind of moving around right now. He's got some assumptions in terms of this phasing plan and what that means to him in terms of, his carrying costs and how subs will respond to that. And then, we're gonna factor those into the budget reconciliation and see where it comes out. So we'll know on the 27th, are we still all within budget, or, do we have to do some trimming somewhere? Right now, our glass is half full, saying that, we think that we're pretty good. One thing that we, I think collectively as a team have done is we haven't had a lot of scope creep. There's been some, just in terms of, things like when you find the tie rods that are connecting, we found some stuff, but not a ton. And I don't think that we've really gone, hog wild on trying to get, extra bells and whistles, into the project. So, I mean, I'm optimistic at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna find out, I think Brad said it very well, I know you want to hear from me. We are looking at, there is some added supervisory coverage, because we were covering that 8 weeks, we didn't have a superintendent out here for 8 weeks. So, we're looking at what are those things, making it as transparent as possible what those things, those implications are. And our plan was to include those costs and what we're looking at for those costs into this next round of the estimate, as Brad said. We did also have a 4% phasing contingency as well in the previous estimate.
That's right.
And that's a little bit of a guess number, but that might maybe goes down to 3% in this estimate, and then covers some of that phasing costs that we're talking about incurred. So I think at the 60% CD, there's a lot more details in the drawings than there was at the last phase, the design development phase. So this is gonna be very telling to see where we come in at with the budget, with having a broader picture and a more specific picture about the phasing approach.
I think basically too, that what we want is, we want to keep that August 30th date. And we don't want it to run beyond that for the start of the school year. So anything that we can do on this end. We're flexible, we can be hopefully flexible enough to do it.
Yeah, the 8 weeks is really about that first phase, which initially would have been 8 or 9 weeks. And you look at we chose an approach which we're starting at the central core of the building. The new electrical room, the new boiler room, the administrative offices, the new entrance, all the work in the kitchen. And a lot of that work was not a lot, but like the kitchen in particular was bigger than what was way back at the RFP stage, right? So, and that work though is critical because as John was saying, you know, when you come in and you're gonna take over your newly renovated administrative offices, the electrical for that, we don't wanna be running that off the existing electrical system. We wanna be up and running on the new electrical system. The heating for that, we wanna be running off the new boilers. So that has become such an essential part, and we initially were looking at it like, this is really intense, maybe we're gonna run triple shifts, but even sometimes triple shifts can't get you the, you know, what they say, 9 women can't make a baby in a month, right? So at some point, you know, you can't just add more shifts to it.
Never heard that. Where did you grow up? No one's ever heard that. Very explanatory.
With construction metaphor, sometimes you can't just.
Never heard that?
So.
That's just you and Larry, John. I don't know.
So at some point, we said we need more variation, and that's kind of where we've kind of landed on this. And we do think it's a good approach for us too, so. I better not use that one again.
Although it is memorialized.
It did.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Any other reactions to it? I mean, we've also, you know, touched base with Parks and Rec, because there's, you know, implications with the town fields and the softball field, and, you know, everybody's working towards everybody's, you know, schedule. They know what they are, and, you know, alternates are being, you know, sites are being looked at, and ways of maintaining access, you know, for the longest periods possible without impacting the ability to get the work done on the site are also being looked at.
So just a pat on the back to you guys, you know, when we originally looked at this job, right, and you guys were thinking about it, you know, you said, which delivery method should we go and use? And you said construction manager at risk. I can tell you there's absolutely no way we could have figured this out, right, just ourselves, and gone and said, this is how much it's gonna cost, you know, to do 5, 6 phases, and just say, you know, how is a contractor gonna respond to that? No way. You know, it's been a very significant effort going to go and figure all of this out, but everybody making it happen. So, if anyone asks you if it's a good approach, tell them yes, because we no way could we have done this.
Right, so ultimately it's a savings to you because we would have been figuring it out
Right.
on the fly, in the field, under contract, which means by change order.
Right.
And it would have been ugly and expensive.
Guaranteed.
Okay.
One quick question?
Yeah.
Has there been any, well, I imagine there hasn't been at this point, but is there a plan at some point about communicating to the abutting residents, since I know we have some residential housing right, you know, next to the property, so that it's at least transparent, even if it's not, you know, I'm not expecting them to have input on it, but we don't want them to find out, you know, later.
We haven't spent a lot of time talking about that, but that's an important part of our process. Maybe you guys have done more, I don't know, but we definitely need to have a plan for how we interact, and it's all about managing expectations, right? Here's what's gonna happen, here's when it's gonna happen, here's who you can contact if you have a question, you have a concern. So we usually do, I mean, I don't know, because there's not that many neighbors, we usually do like a community meeting, and everyone wants to come in and learn about the project, and timing, and some of the phasing, and we'll learn about
But
it.
they have been notified for the notice of intent by Concom,
Right.
and we'll be notified again, I think we're
There's
tending
the
towards it.
stormwater application wasn't noticed.
Right.
Right,
So-
and also the planning, if we go to the planning formally, they would be notified of that, so we're,
Actually, there won't be, because that's not a formal site plan filing that we determined, so, there will be on, the local access.
Yeah, so maybe we can just weave just a little bit of this type of information into, you know, that Concom piece, if it's a little bit more, but, I think that way, you know, you have a captive audience, cause you have to go and notify all of the butters, so we can do that maybe at the same time. As well as, you know, I think the community meeting at some point before we launch is a good idea.
You're thinking noise and disruption.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
that.
if people are working till midnight here, and, you know, trucks driving in and
Yeah.
out.
We could even write a letter, I mean, just to do a map and just get addresses from the town and just mail a letter from us, just
We
saying.
have the numbers listed from
Yeah, so we can just mail a letter and
Yeah.
just say FYI.
Yeah, and we were working through, actually, when we met with the building inspector, you know, the whole notion of work hours, because there will be multiple shifts. And, you know, he understands, you know, the idea would be to keep the, you know, obviously the off hours work would be inside, interior to the building. But then, you know, also sitting down with Chief Dumas, right, understanding, you know, letting him know, we haven't got to that because we just had that first meeting this week, but working through all of that ultimately, so, you know, we have kind of a prescribed set of work hours, you know, that we would be approved for, if you will. And then everybody, you know, has that understanding and we go through that exercise up front.
Well, and also fire coverage in town is limited after hours as well. And I think the firefighters that we actually pay are at 9 to 4, 9 to 5, so.
No
fire
fires
coverage
at
after
Rowley.
hour- No fire, no,
At
there's
night.
volunteers. There's volunteers, yes, however, it's not, you know, they're not always on site, they're volunteers, so just, you know, that's also.
Is there, you actually have a call fire department, they are not
Right.
volunteers, it's a
Oh,
call,
okay.
it's
Oh,
a
okay.
combined
Oh, okay.
career call department. So there is coverage after hours, but.
But we'd be making both departments aware of what's going on, and letting them know. Anybody else? All right.
I guess do we need an official, you know, we're okay to proceed down this road? Or anything that anyone wants us to re-examine?
I'm completely comfortable with it. I
Okay,
don't,
no, I'm just,
you want a vote of this committee, I think that's important, so that we're on the same page in messaging. I think that there, as far as the school and the schedule is concerned, whether it means we start 2 days later, I think there's ways we can work, or a PD day is used, or setting up rooms, and then there's an extra day, I mean, there's ways to work, and I was just looking, Labor Day is next year is the 3rd, so 4th the following year, so we'd be starting, we can easily say we would start after Labor, so I think we can work around.
I guess
Schedule.
I ask you, you know, did you really think that we need a vote? Because the one thing, just put out there, right, is there is stuff that's gonna move around a little bit. It's gonna be a little bit fluid. And so, you know, I don't wanna get too boxed in.
The only thing I would say is that April start date.
April start date.
Yeah.
I'm just,
That I-
the later
Yeah.
part, can we
Yeah.
start
I
at the
agree.
end
Yeah.
of the, you know, the spring of 19, I guess we're saying, that's all, we adjust on the fly. The big piece is, because there's impact on the town, with town
Right.
meeting, and like we said, I think we can figure that out, especially, is it not live, do you not broadcast live? I mean, whether we use the Triton Auditorium, I think that would take special action to have it out of the town, but we could figure out how to set up the gym, and we can certainly assist with that, so. I just think
We're
it's.
not going
I just put it out
They have
there, it wasn't no
better chairs.
expectation.
It's much more comfortable.
Just to summarize, process-wise, we've met with staff and stakeholders, various boards to kind of start refining this, to go back to term, but it's not fully polished. And of course, we report back to you, the building committee, as our correct, awarding authority. We do that anyways for everything before we finalize it, but there will be updates, further refinements. I think this is the overall pattern that we're looking at. But we certainly, in our discussions, didn't consider anything official until we had at least gone back and informed you whether you voted on this.
Yeah, I think we should take a committee vote to approve the change in the start of the construction from June to April.
Mr. Chairman,
Have
may
a
I ask,
motion?
may I ask a
Yeah.
question on that?
Sure.
Does that mean that the all-purpose room will not be permitted, or available for town meeting?
Yeah, that's what we had been talking about.
Well, I have concern about that because I think we need to talk to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee about this.
One thing I don't think you were here, Debbie, is that the gym is
It's
available.
the same size,
It's the
yeah,
same
gym's
size.
available, it's the same size as the AP room, and that can be set up for town meeting.
And then I would defer then to Janet Morrissey, the head of the Raleigh Community Media, to make sure that she can get that live feed into the gym. Because we have it connected in the all-purpose room,
We have a live feed on?
in the
Yeah,
all-purpose
we
room,
do.
so I don't know logistically on how that would work. I think we need to speak to her about that and do some research and make sure that's gonna.
We'll have to find out.
And talk to the selectmen.
I don't know if I should say this, but if we had to start May first, it wouldn't be an absolute deal killer. We like the April, cause we can go in there and bang out, and we can bang out the loud demolition that week, really get ahead of it. I mean, it's definitely has a benefit, but if it was an absolute deal breaker, like I said, I hesitate to say it. 'Cause, I say things like that, oh, okay, they said it was fine. But, we'd definitely be, I think, beneficial to us in the project. We're still gonna be outside doing the duck bank starting April break, because we wanna get most of that excavated and in place during April vacation.
So it's a difference of 2 weeks, because we're talking about the first Monday of the April break is the 16th.
Right, so
Or the 30th.
to start inside the all-purpose room.
Couldn't we just take the kitchen and not the purpose room? Take the kitchen, the exterior? Is it possible?
Anything's possible.
So, could
Let me
we,
check out the gym option first.
yeah, how can we,
The
yeah,
town.
I think finding out when they can do the live
Remember that when you
feed.
said, maybe I shouldn't say this out loud?
Yeah.
The upstairs of the town hall.
Two things, I have to get that
Redacted.
video, and, do some editing.
Straight that.
What my client really meant to say was.
If they block
No,
off.
you guys need to know the options though, so that,
Yeah.
Just get us in there. I mean, I think
Yeah, so you're talking about a construction start date 2 weeks prior to town meeting. Monday, April 16th that's the Monday of vacation, is Monday the 23rd, and then your town meeting's Monday the 30th?
April 30th, yeah.
Or you even have the selectmen contemplate having town meetings set a week earlier, on the 23rd, holding town meeting even a week earlier, if they can't just start demolition and kitchen and work around that all-purpose room and other things for the 2 weeks, would the board consider having town meeting a week earlier? It has to be held before the end of May, the last day of May, so you have flexibility to move forward.
I think we have to make a decision on that and take that up Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. The good thing is that it's like, what, 6 months away?
Yeah.
You're just saying, so if
Yeah.
they need to check the live feed or figure out if that can be
Right,
done,
so
then at least we know that that space could be set up to accommodate.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking if the chairman would think about that before the vote was actually taken, if you can explore that with board of selectmen, the cable, the.
When's our next building meeting?
We need to,
We don't have one
we need to schedule that.
We have to schedule
Yeah.
that.
We need to
Okay.
schedule that.
So we'll put off that vote. so.
Okay.
The message is, it's only 2 weeks, but it's a powerful 2 weeks, as far as the project and what can happen that week, starting the 16th.
Right.
So,
But my question is with the demolition in the kitchen, I mean, obviously there's gonna be, the AP room is not gonna be, it's gonna be messed up.
well, I was gonna say, it's not really ideal either to break it up.
Right.
We'd have to, we're already gonna seal the current entrance from the main foyer into the all-purpose room. That's gonna be sealed, dust-proof. The other entrance where, sort of the back entrance by the back of the kitchen that goes into the south wing, that's all gonna be sealed. We'd have access in and out, through kind of the west side of the all-purpose in the kitchen. So it would be airtight, right? So we're not gonna have any dust coming into the occupied area. So now all of a sudden you say, set up that same thing in the kitchen. It's not impossible to do, but again, then we're setting it up there, and 2 weeks later, we're taking it down, we're extending it out there. It's just one of the things, yeah. The ideal is to get it all, to really hit that demolition hard, that first, that April vacation week.
for the noise too. right?
Yeah, for the noise, that's what I say hit it hard.
Yeah.
We can take advantage of that, I think, serve the project well.
Okay, we'll put off the vote.
The next item, we need to purchase a new transformer as part of the duct bank work and the new service to the school. And it has a 16-week lead time. We've gone out, or I should say, Raleigh Municipal Light has bid the requirements, and they have offered an invoice for $19,860. What we would like to do is get permission to start the process to purchase the transformer, so that when April comes around and the duct bank is going in, that shortly thereafter, the new transformer will be available to be set in place.
Right.
And
We
follow.
have a site meeting, a follow-up meeting with Raleigh Municipal Power, which is with our engineers, know very well, so the plans are all set.
Correct, and the specifications of the piece of equipment have been confirmed with our engineers that Raleigh Power has received pricing for. And we have a line item in our budget for this particular piece of equipment and some other associated costs which have not been fully developed yet. Principally, the cost of bringing in the new primaries, which Raleigh Municipal Light is working on, because they would pull the primary cables, and WT Reach, through their electrician, would do the secondaries into the building. And I was wondering if I could get permission to submit an invoice to Karen to get the transformer order started.
Chris, you have a comment?
Well, the only comment, I was at that meeting with Raleigh Municipal Light and the engineers, and the 16 weeks, a lot of that has to do with the hurricanes and so forth that have been impacting the southern part of the country, and these transformer manufacturers are all just backlogged right now. And that was even before the hurricane that Puerto Rico still does not even have power. So I think it's wise to do now, and then instead of find out that later on that it's gonna be even longer. I think it's being very proactive.
Thank you. So you need approval to go
Like
ahead?
approval to, yes, to submit the invoice. Because one of the caveats with the order is it's 100% upfront. Is Raleigh Municipal Power's requirement.
What is the percentage that the transformer would be used as far as reserve capacity or things like that?
You're talking generator? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I mean, the transformer will supply a certain KVA.
Yeah, it's 1,000 KVA, and I think we were at 800.
I'm not sure if this is what you asked me, once we switch over to the new service, all the power for the building is gonna go through that new transformer.
Oh, I realize that, but I'm just wondering what's the reserve, like you have a 20% reserve, so that we'll say if 3 years down the line you decide to put in, 100-watt amplifiers in every room or something like that, that we're screwed type of a thing, because the transformer's too small, or the lines, it's.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
We can get you that.
Yeah, I don't remember the
information.
number.
There is capacity, because that's where I think.
The only reason I'm concerned is that we haven't determined more or less everything else in the building.
No, actually, a load letter was prepared. The engineers have gone through and enumerated the different equipment that the building will require and the associated,
And that comes up with
draws.
the 800 KVA?
I thought it was around 800. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but in the load letter, and I don't have it with me. But the transformer that we're ordering is not right on the line for the demand of the building. There is additional capacity. I can't tell you exactly what the percentage is, but there is additional capacity.
Okay. Right.
a motion to approve the transformer purchase.
So moved.
Second.
Any further comment? Motion has been made and seconded to approve the transformer purchase. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
The next item on the agenda, as we start to get deeper into this process, we're entering the phase where we're going to qualify contractors, and eventually, as part of early bid packages, be soliciting pricing proposals. And the current means and methods for hosting the documents that get generated, and contractors and subcontractor, method of accessing these documents is through hosting services. And we've gone to three companies that provide the service. And we'd like to go forward with a company referred to as Project Doc. And what they will provide during this process is they will maintain the documents. They will provide them to contractors that have been pre-qualified to bid the work, as well as those that will be just bidding, through.
There's a lot of management with the bid documents. They are contract documents, they're basis of contracts with the construction manager and with the subs, and so, especially tracking changes, because there will be what we call addendums, there'll be some changes, so you need to track that list of plan holders and then make sure they all get all the addendums, because then first certainly the filed sub-bidders have a public bid opening, and they have to certify that they've received all addendum and been notified. So the tracking of all this is a fair amount of work. It may sound like, why you need someone to do this, but there are hundreds of plans, hundreds of contractors, and tracking changes.
Most people want, 80% of the bidders want electronic documents.
Yeah.
They won't even put them out until unless they win the job, because they can do all their takeoff electronic right now. So that's why you really need I think the e-bidding. Now, when you say e-bidding service, we're gonna select bids electronically too? Or is this e-plan?
E-plan.
E-plan.
I mean, that,
Correct.
well, there's a few, DCAM just did a job where all the bids are done electronically now. I mean, it's very,
They offer the
10% of
service.
the jobs. It's an option.
It is an option, and we have it as an option, and we haven't factored in this proposal.
What's the cost?
Well, there is a, there's a basic cost for hosting and managing, and then they offer a plan service, and so depending upon the number of contractors that ask for printed copies, will influence the overall cost to the service. But prices range from $36,000 as a high to $29,000 as a low, and that's based on e-bidding as well as up to 102 cents going to various contractors. And if contractors only take the e-drawings, then the bulk of the overall cost is much lower. The e-bidding costs range from $1,500 to $2,200.
Is there cost for electronic copies that people download?
They didn't have one, correct, James?
No, there's no
said
cost for
no
electronic.
cost for electronic copies.
No pay to bid.
It's just the paper version.
Mr. Chairman, we asked if you'll give got prices from other companies and what those are? and
Yeah,
maybe
we
look at-
we can,
Look at the proposals
yep,
and.
we can share, you have those with you, right?
Wage and rate.
And is Project Log the lowest price?
They're not necessarily the lowest, but they are the ones that will provide the full scope. One of the things that they will provide over the others, is their electronic files are sortable, so that you don't have to pull them apart manually, you can do an electronic sort, to get, information by trade. Otherwise, it's how it comes in, is how you get it in the list, and then you have to then, manually sort it.
So I guess we're still trying to decide if the sub bids are gonna be received like the town hall, or are they gonna be filed online, and that's another feature of this proposal, is that what we're saying?
Yes, yep.
It can be done electronically. As part of the overall 29,270.
When does the decision need to be made to contract with this company? And is there time to have the committee look at
Yeah, no,
proposals?
we have a little bit of time to look at the proposals. Just wanted to bring forward what we've started to do.
We need it in place for the next early bid package.
Right, for the windows.
Which is
December 6th.
Correct.
Yes.
How does this fit in with you, John, as far as, is this a ancillary service, or is this a step between you and contractors?
Well, so this is specifically referring to the file sub-bid, or under CMR, it's called trade contractors. And so traditionally, that is always direct bid to the owner, or the owner's rep.
Right.
So this is, what Larry's talking about is just that set of bidders, how they're gonna get plans and how they're gonna submit their bids. The other category of contractors, non-trade, non-file sub-bid, it's a little less formal. I mean, we have relationships with these, we send out emails, we say, you know, we're interested in bidding this project, tell us if you're interested. They send a kind of a response back that they're interested in bidding. We send them a link so that they can, through our own share file site, and to download the plans and specs. And that's like, for us, like 10 years ago, people would say, I'll only bid the job if you send me the prints and you pay for them, right, on the
Right.
non-file. I tell you, no one said that to me in like 3 or 4 years. No one said. They either just do them electronically themselves, and they download them. I'd say they're very used to doing that. And then they just submit bids to us. Typically, we need them by a certain deadline, and email bids. And then
So you still retain the responsibility as far as the correctness of the distribution and any changes?
Not so much for the file sub-bids. That really comes through the design team and the OPM for the file sub-bid category. That's a very, we call it a very formal process. If there's an addenda issued, you know, it's interesting, if an addenda issued, any of the official plan holders that went through the service, they will get either the addenda sent to them or link saying, here's the addenda if it's a big document through this service. And that'll be more controlled, honestly, I mean, we'll be reviewing the addenda and we'll be adding things, but the communication doesn't go through us for the file sub-bid category. For the non-file sub, we'll get the addenda, we'll send it out to all our bidders that we know that are bidding it. So it's sort of
It's two tracks.
Two tracks of
Okay.
processes.
Again, with the trade contractors and filed sub-bidders, I mean, they need to acknowledge formally as part of their bid, all the addendum, and that's grounds for getting their bid bids qualified. You know, the number 2 bidder in a given category can challenge if and they do review the bids of their competitors, especially if they're number 2 and they're close, just to see if there was something
Missing from their package or.
So the public opening of a trade contractor is one process. The non-trade contractors, which is about half of the work, one of the advantages, again, of the CM at risk processes, that's what we call open book, and we'll have de-scoping sessions, and we as the design team will partner up with WT Rich and we'll interview, say, the site contractor, that's a big non-trade trade contractor, we'll go over and make sure that everyone's reading the same thing. One of the things with the kind of hard bids is you just don't know what the bidder sees in the drawings. You know what you thought you put in the drawings, but you don't know what they see in the drawings, what they base their bid on. In the de-scoping approach for trade contractors, again, for non-trade contractors, we get a chance to at least talk to them about big items, make sure, they understand there's a force main, and that we're doing a new pressurized leach field in the second summer, and the summers are tight. We can talk about those things and make sure that there's
I guess the process is so distinct in ways, like, so if a non-trade bidder forgot to acknowledge an addendum, we just say, hey, did you get addendum 3? You didn't mention it in the bid form. Oh, let me check, oh yeah, I got it. It's a different process. If I said bids are due on, such and such date at 4 p.m., and they called up and say, hey, can I send it in the following day? We're gonna say, sure, that's fine, because we're trying to get the best numbers. If someone comes in, they all come in fairly higher than we think, we can talk to them, why is your bid so high? What's driving your bid up? Like, it's an open dialogue and communication, but our ultimate goal is still to get you guys the best price.
But
and
I'm
share all
looking
that.
more for the work in progress type of changes and things like that. At the onslaught, it's very easy to make sure that everyone's got the right drawings and stuff like that, but, once, we start work early and everything hits the fan,
Right, so once,
making sure that everyone has the right drawings and revisions and or whatever you wanna call it.
Once the project starts, anytime that there's a change in the scope or a clarification of scope, it will go from the architect to the contractor.
through a formal process.
Right, and the contractor will disseminate the information to the trades he has on the contract.
We'll also, Larry,
Yeah, but the contractor disseminates it via the e-bidding service?
No,
No.
just
Or-
internally.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
so just like up to the, like when everybody's basically signed up, right, we'll have these addenda that'll come out.
So these people drop out?
They drop out.
Yes.
They do.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they go away, and so,
Okay.
what we'll do is, all those addenda, that'll come out, we'll actually roll up, basically a consolidated construction set. Delegation, ultimately, still you have to look at the addenda, right, just in case we screw up, but we're pretty good at that. Just wanted to say that for you.
I was gonna say, what do you mean, all these? One or two agendas?
Right.
Yeah, we only got
So-
4
We
coming.
issue some
What are
refinements.
you talking about?
Right, yeah, well, a couple refinements along the way, but then we'll roll that up, and then we'll issue a consolidated construction set, so everybody's looking at the same
Right,
thing.
okay.
Okay, so everyone, just to beat the dead horse, every contractor ultimately is gonna be contracted to a certain scope of work, which are based on specs and drawings, and then changes to those contract documents will be done through a parallel system. It might also be electronic, but WT Bridge, I think, will end up posting that, and we'll submit to that, and they'll disseminate it to the relevant subcontractors.
I mean, it's an important the ongoing, once everyone's on board, it's a very important part of our role. We're gonna be getting, subs are gonna submit RFIs and get responses to that might affect other subs.
Right.
There's gonna be ASIs, architectural supplemental instructions, which are clarifications that aren't supposed to be change orders. Then there's gonna be straight up, this is
They're
a
a
change,
favorite.
this is, some architects use them across the board, whether it's a change or not. And then there's RFPs, requests for a proposal, which everyone acknowledges it's a change. Every one of those, we need to track, we need to make sure all the affected subs understand what's changed, what's current, and all those types of things. And we have some tools for how we do that, posting into drawings. We use a system called Procore, all the drawings, all the RFIs, all the ASIs are accessible out there. Our more sophisticated subs all have iPads in the field or laptops, and they're looking up that information. We do a big effort. We come out, you see some sub come out, he's working on a hard copy set, check the date. Is it the conform set or is it the big, the earlier set? And so there is an important, what you're asking is an important thing, staying on track with all those refinements.
But you have two separate, this
Correct.
service is going to do the pre-bid.
That gets us up to bidding and
Then-
award, after that,
then you're going
they go
to-
away.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, what is the budget for the bidding? I guess that's what we would need to know. We're being quoted the $28,000 versus 30-something for e-bidding feature. What's in our budget to do this?
Yeah.
That is a proposal within that budget. I mean, I presume if you're bringing it forward, it is, but I think it would be helpful to know where that is in this budget. We're doing this for the police and fire, and we're using a different website to do it with. We're doing right now, the sub-bids.
But when are you using it?
We're using, Plan Room.
Yeah, I don't know what the comp is for that.
We have some time, so.
Okay, sure, I mean, if you want.
Get a combo deal. 2 for 1?
When we're getting the file sub-bids will be in the, so that's in town hall. Right, obviously, this is a bigger project with probably a lot more subcontractors than we have for that project, but.
Yeah, we'll reach out to them and
Okay,
get,
yeah,
and get a comparable.
yeah, it'd be nice to just know
Yep.
what was in the project budget to handle the
Yep.
bidding.
And we'll put together a summary.
Okay.
We'll give you a copy of the RFP as well.
So he's gonna get that figure.
We're just assuming that.
Yeah, what we'll do is come back in the next one, we'll do a summary with, we'll get an additional quote, and then we'll do a project summary. In addition to, we'll add on to the existing spreadsheet, and we'll include the original RFP, so that the scope is
That's the max.
complete.
And Larry, can you just clarify, so the
Yeah.
transformer being purchased, not getting quotes, we're doing that through Raleigh Municipal Light?
We have to, we don't have an option. They are the power company, so if it was National Grid, we would have gone to them and said, this is our load letter, what do we need to do for the service, and they would have said, here's the cost for us to bring in the service based on the project. You write a check to National Grid, before they would start to do anything. And this is the same thing, we submitted a load letter to them, with the project specifics, and, they came back and said this is the cost of the transformer.
Like you said, we had $100,000 for utilities.
In the 3011, there's a $100,000 budget for utilities. Now, this isn't the only item that will go against that budget, but, it's the start. There's a couple other components that will be part of it.
Yeah, and that transformer number, I wouldn't expect that number to go against that line item. I'd expect that to be something that we would have otherwise had as part of the electrical budget scope, right, in the base project.
No, we had it in the.
Yeah, we were always-
We
always
always
had-
assumed that was gonna be for purchase.
Yeah,
See what you get.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
The utility company's
Utility
back
back charges, yes.
It includes the transformer and their primary.
Right, and
Question.
we'll wait.
And there is
Wanted
a-
that to be clarified, so no one walked away with it. Making sure everyone understood they voted that something less
Okay, you ready?
Yep, we can move on, yep.
Do we vote on the
Number-
transformer? Yeah, we did.
We did, yeah.
Number 9?
As, again, part of the ongoing effort, we need to establish a committee to review trade contract qualifications. Those committees typically made up of OPM, the architect, and representatives from this group. We had talked about it in working group, and there was a suggestion at the time that Chris Wallace, Joe, and Dennis would be on the committee. John, and,
I'll give you a tour.
oh, nice, all right.
Since Dennis isn't here to defend himself, I guess.
Yeah, I volunteered
All
Dennis.
of Dennis.
I second it.
And Pink, yeah, Pink will be on it, and W.T. Rich will also be on it.
So we put out an advertisement and we're receiving submissions from trade contractors. I have a
Yep.
preliminary list just as.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, we have
39 or so that have responded so far.
39.
There's just the beginning.
Yeah, it's,
Oh, that's awful.
it's a couple, it's only a couple hours old.
Yeah.
Right, so
That's
it's
just
gonna
the
be.
plumbing.
Right. So in case you feel that the committee doesn't have much work to do, that they'll be busy. I would like a motion to approve those individuals for the trade contractor qualification selection committee.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the trade contractor qualification selection committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
The next item, alternates, I know.
I'd like to start on that myself, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Not at all.
We have to pick the order for alternates. Up on the screen, you see a recommendation from the working group. What I'd like to start out with is that we did this for the Triton Stadium, but we did it in a negative in that
Deduct all.
deduct. What we're doing here is selecting alternates for consideration if we have money over, we're still under the bids for the amount of money that we have available for the project. You, as a committee, we can choose to change the order of the alternates for consideration. We can move things around, or we can accept what the working group proposed. Let me make some points here. Suppose you were to move linoleum flooring to number 1. If you did that, and the money came in, and there was $85,000 that we were, had left under budget, the linoleum flooring would not be covered, nothing else gets picked. You don't skip down. Whatever you pick as number 1 has to go as number 1. Number 2 comes after number 1. Number 3 comes only after 1 and 2 are paid for. So consider that in your selection. If you approve on the working group's order, there it is up for your consideration. Anybody have any questions about what the order is?
I do.
If I could make two.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
John, I was.
Two explanations. One, these are estimated, rough estimated costs. The actual prices will be different, but as you said, the order counts, and the value counts, so we wanted to give you some sense of rough
Right.
order of magnitude. And also, we left brick infill up there because that has always been listed as an alternate, but it's up for discussion, it's very low value. The committee may want to consider just having us roll that into the base design. Especially pending, I would suggest pending the results of our 60% cost estimate.
If I can have one more clarification. My understanding, taking away from the working group, that this is not the proposed
Order.
No.
These are the 5, these are the 5 things we said.
Just not.
Just not, we didn't determine the order yet. We said,
Oh,
let's do this
there's
group.
no
These are the
proposed
5
order.
things we said are important to keep as
Oh,
alls.
well,
Yeah.
I'll ask my question now. Why did you feel like the brick infill was important to keep as an alt? Because I thought the last discussion I heard in this group was that it was an aesthetic only and not an aesthetic that people necessarily even noticed about the building. So it didn't seem like spending $23,000 toward it was necessarily a, a direction that the committee wanted to go in. was the last thing I'd heard.
Well, my detailing team has encouraged me to just get this done. It will be a better wall construction if we just fill in the blank in terms of durability, weather resistance. So that is a change, that's what we have that up there for really for your discussion and review. But our recommendation, I guess, as designers would be to take that, what had been an alternate, and just roll it into base design. It's not much money, and it would be a better, more durable wall construction.
Wasn't there a concern about the availability of brick to match?
Well, so the brick will not match perfectly. I mean, you see this in any building. You can tell when windows have been filled in with the wall or doors. But I think we can do a pretty good job. You don't have an unusual brick. But since you all know about it, you will certainly be able to easily identify where it was infilled, just because you'll know where to look.
Yeah, and you'll, you know, it'll be different, but at least it's a shape.
This is brick.
And it's brick, and so, you know, it'll actually, it could be looking like it's a little detail that was put in. I can tell you one thing, though, that having the ephes there, right, the ephes, you know, particularly at a low level, is gonna be susceptible to going and getting beat up. So, you know, it is a lower cost option, but, you know, if somebody starts hammering it with a ball or something like that, you know, it's gonna dent up.
So which is the 23,000 for the ephes or for the brick?
You know, in some places, this is to replace the unit ventilator. Some places they're
Right.
in ephes.
Okay.
So we'd replace the wall in kind, but depending on what's adjacent. So if it's in ephes, we'll put ephes. I think that's upper.
Upper is ephes.
Yeah.
And if it's down in the brick, it'll be brick.
Is it consistent? I can picture them, but I can't picture the pattern. Is it consistent if you look at the north wing, the south wing? Is it a consistent pattern down the wall on the
It's the
exterior?
same size open,
Yeah.
more or less.
But like spaced, like could you put in a light colored brick and actually have it be a design element?
But I was kind of telling you, saying that, but not going and really highlighting it too much with like a light color brick.
I was thinking like chartreuse or maybe mauve. I don't know. There's not enough mauve in this design so far. Yeah.
We can settle on the color of the brick later.
So I just didn't know if that's, I mean, assuming it's something you probably talked about as designers, but.
We have you have 3 phases of construction, 3 designs. North wing and south wing are very similar. East wing is really quite different.
Yeah.
We can look at that with Margaret. I think her interior design was well received today. I'm sure she could make some appropriate color choices.
As she said that, I was thinking, I wonder what Margaret will think about that.
Another one of those things we don't say out loud.
That's right.
Okay, can we focus on the alternates for consideration, and let's,
So should we vote
In
on
the
the
order?
recommendation to just include the
Get in
23,000 in
order.
the base first?
Should we make
So that we
comments
have-
first?
say again?
Shall we vote on the recommendation to include the 23,000 as part of the base first?
Yes.
So that we can eliminate that and then
think so.
go into the discussion with only 4 alternates.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion, we include that in the base.
Second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to include the brick infill areas for city. Any further discussion?
Yeah, it's worth it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're including the brick infill.
I see some, Joe, your
Jim's
point
in.
about like the dollar value, look, when these bids come in, it's a $30 million project, okay? It's not gonna be $20,000, $50,000 less than $30 million. There's gonna be a natural fluctuation. I suggest you pick them in the order that you like them the best, and you don't focus too much on the price, and you get hung up on that. And, you know, there is an option to negotiate a change order for something if you had a little bit of money later, if you've rejected an alternate down the road, but they don't have to hold their price anymore the same way, but so.
Right, but
If
we
thought
are
you were
going to
budgeted,
select
but
the
then-
order that will be,
Right, but I like these, I think I've said this before, if you guys think our precision of our $30 million estimate is like, within 10 or 20 grand, I'm just telling you, there's not that much precision.
No.
in the estimate.
What do you think we can expect for wiggle room on this? How much would you expect we have in budget to accommodate alternates?
Well,
So.
At one point, I
That's
think
a
you
good
said,
question.
John, I think at one meeting you said 400,000 would be like an average for a project this size.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that still a number you're comfortable, I mean, just so we can have an
Yeah,
idea,
yeah.
like, hey, if we choose two of the big ones, you know, we're gonna have to take it as it comes on this, guys. If we make, you know, a choice to go for the two big ones and we suddenly have no money, then we have no money. We're still getting a great product. These are like little extras.
I would say,
Choose the one we want.
I think what I might have said,
Is it 400?
but I think I said,
We
you
have one
wanna
big
choose big alternates, because like $50,000 or $60,000, it's usually not gonna make that much difference. We try to prepare our estimate, so we have like 95% confidence that we're at or below budget, right? If you try to go for 100% confidence, then that just means we have a much higher estimate, and we take a lot of stuff out of the project, and we come in, we're way under budget, and people say, well, look at all that stuff we deleted. So this is sort of, you know, that number, so when you say 95%, you say, well, you know, there's probably a 30% chance we're 500 or more under budget, right? So it's hard to say with precision, and I've said this, I think I've said this before, but this job is not as easy to do, say, if we were in Boston suburbs or in downtown Boston, where there's a lot of construction bids, there's a lot of contractors that operate in that space. Geographically, this, for some contractors, it doesn't have as much attraction, right? For us North Shores, you know, we love it up here, but, and then the phasing is another kind of wild card factor to try to figure out. And then the biggest factor is like, what's really going on in kind of the 3 months or so before this one bid? What else is out there? What other have big jobs come out, and, you know, the casino's starting to take up all kinds of contractors and things like that. That has the biggest effect on the short-term bidding, and it's the hardest thing for us to predict. But I would say, you know, you could be, you know, most optimistic scenario, you could be 500,000 or more under budget, and,
Which means we'd get it all.
yeah. And
Okay.
it's-
Right.
Okay.
One other, just last point, I'll be quick. Just on the roofing one, that's a Ford or Chevy question, right? Some people like Ford, some people like Chevys. There's not really a material difference in terms of the membrane. You know, it was put in there because we also have to have a requirement for putting alternates in as part of the MSBA process. So, you know, I just want people to understand that, you know, if you went EPDM, there's really not a material degradation in terms of the quality of the roofing that's there.
Okay, any suggestions on
Yeah, I would say
changing?
I think it's been stated several times that linoleum flooring will greatly reduce maintenance costs over the years. And
It's a
so
healthier product.
it seems to me that makes sense to be number one.
I agree. Yeah, agreed.
And it's also something that can't be changed once you
Right.
start work.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, as opposed to like a theater
Theater
system
package,
that
yeah.
could be added later on.
That was gonna be my point, I think both the soffit, I think it was hardy soffit or whatever, the
Yeah.
cementitious, because of the fact that that's great, it'll be encapsulated and the asbestos is gone, but we've gotta hang one something and we can't penetrate that, so I think, for me, the linoleum and the soffits are the two high priorities, because they're things that we can't do later.
Right.
I think quite honestly, we probably could do a theater package through local companies and donations and fundraising and do it a lot cheaper than we can through this project, so. That's mine. And I think I'm Ford or Chevy, I go Ford, so I'm fine with EPD.
I'd go with the Chevy.
I would say that I'm driving a Ford, so that doesn't work.
Okay, so we're looking at a proposal of possibly putting linoleum first and abate existing soffit second.
Are we gonna get ourselves into trouble with the existing soffits, or is this gonna be easy? I mean, it's asbestos. We can
That's
open
the
a
whole
hole.
It, that's abatement and replacement and abatement.
Right, I know that's the point, but I worry that it's gonna go somewhere with that, because you never know what you can do with asbestos.
I think they know more because they know what it is and they're digging it all out.
Generally, that can be true in the industry, but these are exposed,
This
this
is
is
okay?
in condition, and they contain asbestos, it's, as we say, encapsulated, because it's in cement, so it's not going anywhere unless you cut it. It's pretty easy to bid, pretty clear. All
Okay.
asbestos, that's the easiest to define.
I'll make a motion that we have linoleum as the first alternate
I'll second
Or third.
Okay, we have a linoleum as first bid. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Make a motion that we have abatement as the second alternate.
Abate existing soffit as second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Make a motion that we have the TPO roofing as the third alternate.
Second.
No, I don't like that. I'd rather have the theater package, I gotta be honest, I think it's a higher impact item, even though we may be able to do it for less. That's a big what if, and that's also a big thing to go out and ask for donors for. If we can do it as part of the project and get that baby done, we use it for town meeting, it's the only public meeting space in this town. I mean, you guys are concerned about using the gym, you know, let's make this room really something we're proud of as a community.
It's used only twice a year.
No,
For the
actually, it's
town.
used constantly for the student productions, for everything else. The students are in that room every single day, and right now, at that stage, and the way it's all set up in the sound system, you can't hear anything. Sometimes the kids are noisy, but having an improved sound system up there would be great for town meeting, be great for productions, it'd be great for concerts, community gatherings, everything else that happens, even the hearing impaired students.
Okay, we have a motion.
What is the motion?
Marissa had a, Marissa.
Can I get a clarification? I thought that we had talked about replacing part of the sound system, but not, am I correct in thinking that as part of the base bid?
I think something was included in the
I
base.
thought-
Maybe it was lights that
But
weren't.
reuse the speakers, because the speakers are in good shape.
So do we know where the problem is?
This is even bigger
There's a
and
number
better.
of problems.
Sorry, John, I didn't mean to throw you a little
Of
question.
the ones we can fix. Sorry. The base bid includes new infrastructure and a new control system, a very old pair of racks controlling. But we would reuse the speakers as are, they're relatively new, but they're not the highest. There's newer technology in speakers, so talking to our technology consultant, what he recommended, and this would be the alternate, would be what's called a linear array speaker. It actually has a very focused distribution of sound, it just doesn't spread like a megaphone. So the sound would go straight out, not die up in the ceiling over the stage and in front of the stage. It would go straight out and hit the audience in a much more controlled way. So the speakers would, a new speaker would be the alternate in terms of audio. The new controller racks would be bass, and new wiring would be bass as well. Is that clear?
And the lighting is in the alternate as well.
So stage, theatrical lighting would be the alternate. We will have house lighting, so at a minimum, students are up there doing music, can actually see their music, their sheet.
Which you can't right now.
Right.
Yep.
They can't, similarly, video project, for the same reason, installing a video projector and a screen that's not torn is meant to be base bid, because you just really need that. We're
'Cause it
not
looks
gonna give
ghetto.
you a lovely space and then have a taped projection screen and a projector on the cart.
Okay, I'd like to cut it off and vote on the motion. We have a motion to make TPO roofing.
And you have a
Third.
second.
I thought we had a second.
Yes.
Second. Yeah. Any further discussion?
So it's the motion to make that number 3.
The motion is to make that number 3.
Theater 4. I think you can say that in theater 4, it's kind of implied.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed. What do we say, nay?
Nay.
Nay. We never get to say nay. That's the first time I wanted to know the answer.
So can I ask a question, because maybe this will break it down? My background is in theatrical lighting, and I don't see a great way to theatrically light that stage, just from what I did. Is there a possibility to break out the speaker piece of that, since that seems to be the real crux of that? I'm assuming from all the nays, that if that's the crux of of what would carry that theater package requirement, is there an opportunity to break out just the speaker portion of it and either include it just as part of the base package instead of with, you know, so it would be new speakers with a new infrastructure, or handle that somehow differently?
Well, I guess, like, if we had it We don't know, I don't know what those are right at the moment, like to try and break it out on the fly here.
Yeah, no.
But what you could always do is you could keep that in there and then elect not to necessarily take, you know, a piece of it. You could back that down, you know, at that point. And we have been looking actually, I don't wanna argue because I'm not a theatrical design, but we have been looking at ways to go and take that, so it wouldn't just be up top there.
Mhm.
We'd be looking at, you know, maybe potentially putting in some acoustical clouds and integrating that, bringing that down from the ceiling on some, you know, unistrut or something like that, so that it actually is a little bit more
Yeah.
forward looking in. So, you know, I do think it has an opportunity
Yeah.
to work and, you know, be something that can improve, you know, a theater production as well as just, you know, what's going on stage for if it's town meeting or something like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, if there's additional infrastructure truly coming in to provide the
Yeah,
lighting,
yeah.
but with the depth of that stage.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
just kind of where it is right now, I don't think, right? We're talking about putting that a little bit out front. Yeah.
Do you have a motion?
Yeah, and the lights.
To what?
You want to clarify curtains?
The curtains
We
included in
have
the
to pick a number three.
One second, Emily was clarifying something.
Yeah.
The curtains included in the alternate for the theater package would include curtains going along the inside of the stage. And so your stage only has one entrance, and so this would allow kids to come in stage right and stage left should there be a curtain closing off the back, so kids could go through behind the curtain. Which is a lot safer.
Right, so base would just be the front curtain.
Correct.
Michelle?
Can I ask a question about the roofing? I remember when we were deciding between which roofing to include in the base bid, I believe it was discussed that the TPO roofing could be white and it was actually more efficient, but if we went with the EPPF.
You do white too.
it would- Okay.
Each one has a
Yeah,
white
They both,
product.
okay.
It comes in white.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I recall that I didn't know which was which. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Was the TPO defeated for number 3?
Yes.
That kind of says that the theater package is
Oh,
number
yeah.
3.
So I'd like
Still
to
have
make
to
the
vote
theater
on it.
package be number 3 and the TPO thingy be number 4. How's that?
Is that your motion?
Yes, please.
I'll second it.
It's the first time I've ever made a motion too.
Motion.
And it included the word fee.
I am
Yeah.
feeling my power today.
Theater package for number 3, TPO roofing for number 4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain from this one, because I don't think we have a good answer.
Yeah, I'm not
Can we
sure
go
we
back
do
to, you have a
either.
background in theatrical lighting?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Like our very first meeting, I told you that.
The whole set design and,
Yeah,
you were like in a
so-
theater background, right? It was
Yeah.
set
I
lighting
know,
and
is that I
design.
had dinner
Yeah.
there for the spaghetti dinner and I couldn't see what I was eating, which was
No,
kind
not
of
just a
last
flashlight.
night.
I knew you had a theater background.
I was sitting on the stage trying to eat it now. Seriously.
know.
Yes.
You couldn't see
Oh,
a
wow, that's
thing.
good.
You put the lights on.
Yeah, it's done people a lot of good, let me tell you.
No, I'm sorry, my motion.
I worked for 5 months and was like, I don't want to do this
Yeah.
anymore.
Yes.
You can't read it, you can't see anything.
Okay, so we have the alternates in order. Item 11,
Item 11, as we get closer to the fully executed PFA, which is the full project funding of the Inc., as well as Dawn Whittier, the contract amendments to their already existing contracts. And the values are as prescribed in 3011 for the services that would include let's see, design development, construction documents, project bidding, construction administration, and closing. So I would, I have the documents, line by line. But you know, the next step, once the PFA is signed, would be to send to the MSBA contract amendments for all of us.
Which is just part of the MSBA process.
Yeah, correct, it's how the process works.
okay, so once we sign the project,
Correct,
then we can,
then the contracts can be amended, because there becomes a basis for the amendment.
Okay.
Part of funding should be coming back any day.
Yeah, I mean, well, as we all know, it was signed at this level,
So
and
it'd be nice if the committee could authorize the chairman to sign this once the PFA is executed.
That's a possibility.
Dawn Whittier is functioning under a bridge agreement which expires, or did, expired,
So we've been
yeah.
getting paid, and we appreciate
Yeah.
that, but we will not be getting paid. unless
Until
we get an
the
extension.
project funding agreement is in place.
That makes us sad. And this is, remember when we talked about the bridge agreement and everybody was saying, yeah, no, don't worry, everybody, it'll be 2 weeks, you know, now it's November, right? So, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, they, yeah, okay.
You know, they've requested additional information, and everyone has responded very quickly. And, you know, been able to deliver them what they've needed. Just, we're at the mercy.
Okay, in the event that the MSBA comes up with the PFA, I call for motion to allow me to sign the documents for contract extensions. Well, with Peg and Dorothy, I won't make
Nay. I'm on a roll.
So
Make a motion. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to allow me to sign the contract extensions if we get the PFA. With that caveat, those in favor say aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that Monday night's meeting, we have a ratification vote of the selectmen as well for that authorization.
Very good.
The next item is, there was talk at the working group level to have a community meeting to, I won't say reintroduce the project, but to bring the community current with where things have evolved for, you know, the vote that they took last year.
The PTA has offered to host, to be the hosties of such meeting. They asked me again about it on Tuesday at our PTA meeting. This would be a good opportunity to invite abutters, keep everybody abreast of everything. And we picked this tentative date of November 9th, right?
Yes, correct.
Which is a Thursday. That's good.
Just wanna get
We
everybody's
will play Pakistan.
thoughts on doing that.
So there's a DCC meeting that night, which is, you know, we're involved with all town officials. Which I don't remember if I was at that working group meeting, or maybe that's when I missed.
That was the one you called in.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
called
you
in.
call, you call, that's, yes.
Yes.
You were phoning it in.
That was awesome. Let's not go back to that day.
You must have
Yes.
been on medication.
Like I said, let's not go back to that day or week. Yeah, so I apologize, but that is, I know that'll be a tough night for a lot of folks to get at.
Or do we wanna look at an alternate?
You wanna do it on the seventh, Tuesday the seventh?
Oh, that's
That's
voted,
PTA.
that's,
Oh, that's the meeting.
that's
They
election
post
day,
it
I
in
don't
lieu
know
of
if
their
it's
meeting?
election day.
There's their meetings.
16th.
Didn't they host something in lieu of one of their meetings before in order to bring in attendance to PTA? Do you think they'd be willing to do that?
I think that would make more sense.
That would be, that would be Tuesday the 14th.
I feel like they did that possibly last year for one of our building activities.
There was something,
There was
you're right,
something
there was
they
something that
held.
they said in the PTA meeting,
Was it the vote?
membership was gonna go to support something else, yeah.
No, it was the budget
Budget
hearing
meeting.
for the
Yeah,
school
it was the budget
committee.
hearing,
Oh, okay.
that's right.
And it's like, so November 14th is like right around Thanksgiving break, maybe that would be one that they would be more flexible.
So they can always have their business
Oh, is
meeting
that one?
prior to 7 o'clock. They can do business meeting
we
from
can't
6
do
to 7.
So we know that's a night a lot of family
We can't
members
do
do have. kind of
14
bookmarked,
or
so.
50.
Yeah, people have already bookmarked that date to go to PTA, then.
You can do 14 or 50.
You cannot do
Cannot.
14 or
Oh,
15.
they can't.
Can't do seven.
What was the PTA's meeting? I'm sorry, you said
The
this?
9th. Oh, no, they're meeting, they meet the second Tuesday of every month.
That's the
14.
That's
That's the 14th, it was the 20,
We could do 16.
Thursday the 16th?
Yeah, we do the 16th.
You can't.
That's the reservation.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Thursday.
What about Wednesday?
Oh, I could do 7 o'clock?
What time is the CPA?
5:30.
Wednesday,
Oh,
the 8th.
so if this is at 7?
Visioning.
Yeah, can still make it. I can do
Check
the
with the summer,
16th.
No.
16th at 7?
16th at 7?
16 at 7.
Okay, you can.
So I will, would you like me to contact the PTA and make sure that that date works for them?
Everybody's texting them right now.
Yes, that'd be good.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, no guarantees that they have their phones on.
You texting Nicole and Celeste?
Nicole and Celeste, yeah. Nicole usually tries to put her phone down at night, because.
Yeah.
What would be
no,
the
I think it's
vehicle
still
for
not.
advertising this,
See.
or to get the word out?
They're
What would be the
the-
vehicle for getting the word out? Or
PTA
with the best,
PTA
with the best way,
create a
yeah.
flyer.
I saw this one today, she said.
Except we can backtrack now, we can
Do it.
post them in the library.
How about this day?
Hall, right
How many people does that work for?
Emily explained, yeah, just to hit that butters list, so.
Yep.
If there could be like a flyer that email to the
I was jealous.
Yeah, that's what we're just
Yeah,
saying.
that's what we just wanna make sure that we don't exclude any list. Okay.
You should try to join, see if, see
Yeah,
if
you
you're
should try to
accepted
join
into
it.
it.
Marina would never let him in.
Here.
So at this meeting, have like the boards available for the community to see and the plans
I
and.
think it would look very similar to the teacher meeting.
That was great.
And then maybe a little bit less detailed on where each teacher is meeting.
They don't need to know.
Yeah,
the
they
date.
Yeah.
But high level,
The
this
concern
is
is
gonna
gonna
be,
be-
this is how often the kids are going to be moving in the
Timing.
year though,
Yeah.
because parents do get funded.
But it's not
Yeah.
every grade level. Fourth and fifth are not moving at all. Sixth
Or
grade is
sixth.
only moving up to the upper south, east.
Well, it takes care of my child,
There's
so
all
they
that,
were fine.
right.
I think there's like two grades
Okay,
are affected
so-
once during the year and then one classroom is affected more than once.
So Thursday, 11/16 for the community meeting.
Yeah.
And 16, 7 o'clock.
Okay, item 13.
There are additional needs as part of the various submissions to Conservation Commission. Excuse me one second. Refresh.
Additional services.
Yeah, the additional, yeah, the additional, thanks.
So we have, as the designer, submitted 3 additional service requests. One of them is for our civil engineer to cover permitting. That's under the MSBA structure of contract basic civil engineering is part of base contract. We own that as part of our fee. But permitting, because it's a little undefined, it all depends on what happens in each individual district, is an extra service. And so they have submitted a not to exceed cost of $5,000 for the NIPD's and $12,000 for the notice of intent / stormwater calculations.
We have budget line items for these things.
Everything
Sorry, just a minute.
has, yes.
So we accounted for them, and now they're showing up, and so now we're hitting those allowances.
Right, and we had a small one for $22,050, $10% markup, for the surveyor to do the flagging that Larry mentioned. And the other one was our hazardous materials consultant to do a little more additional testing to, I think that's also, again, standard additional extra service under MSBA. So the hazardous consultant would do some additional testing, prepare specification documents for bidding, and the major cost was, again, a time and materials basis, $45,000 for construction monitoring of air quality. They will do pre-abatement, post-abatement, and during abatement measurements of the air quality adjacent to any area being abated. They also supervise measurements, they observe and help track quantities of materials abated, so we can.
We don't have a choice, we have to do it, we have to have a licensed industrial hygienist on the job, so. again, that's something we accounted for when we originally.
And these would all come in after, you know, after the PFA, that's when the funds would be available. So the request is that the additional services be authorized once we receive the fully funded PFA.
We need a motion to approve the additional services after we receive the PFA, if we receive.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion.
It's when, Joe, when, not if.
I'm not too sure.
You make a lot of people sad at this end.
Well, I think the
When would be
MSBA
the
is.
eternity, but.
Yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Confirm and set future meeting dates. We have a proposal for the next meeting date of the full board.
Yeah.
And do we have a working group meeting coming up?
Not just yet.
Okay.
Dawn Whittier's working on that schedule. For working group, yes.
Yes, we're,
So do we have a proposal on the full board?
Well, we're sticking with Thursdays, the 9th is out, the 16th is
16th
the
is now
community
out, yeah.
forum. The following week is Thanksgiving.
was gonna
Thursday,
say-
November
Well,
3rd.
if we're going to be here for the community,
Don't you have something before that on the 16th?
Yeah, you're at.
You have something before.
You said community preservation before.
Preservation Commission.
oh, yes, yeah. Okay, I just thought that they, okay. All right.
Is there a time, what was it,
We can start at 9 o'clock.
was it number 8, with the bidding services? As far as the time frame for the bidding services?
We
or
need that in place by December, before December.
So it's before December?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
in terms of, you know, you notify them when you sign the proposal, and
Right,
a couple of
right.
days later,
Yeah,
it's
just a portal.
all set.
it would be nice to, shortly after we reconcile though.
Correct.
'Cause there's-
That was the
there's-
thought.
There's very little time between our reconciled cost estimate and 90% documents. Very little time. So if there is any value engineering or any of the changes we need to do, we need to know right away.
Is the second a possibility for everybody's calendar?
What day is that?
It's still the Thursday,
Thursday,
the second, November second.
Yeah, I am.
Does Thursday, November 2nd work for you?
I can't, Narissa can't, we're at the superintendent school committee conference, but if you need to have the meeting, I would say, I think that we're getting into this time is of the essence thing here, so I'm certainly okay with you meeting without me. Marissa, not. Need a second.
Can we move to the?
Second.
7. So it is the 2nd?
Said first.
Are we in agreement on the second?
Thursday, November 2nd.
Yes.
Can we go back to 7 PM or are we going to continue to dance
6 for me.
Do you know? I play practice, but as long as I'm getting adult there, I'm for the children.
You know, James isn't ever able to make it, we meet at 6 too, right?
Who?
Jay.
Jay, yeah.
Yeah, he said 7, it'd be more likely.
So November 2nd at 7?
Maybe we can alternate at 7 and then 6.
Or just cut it in half and do 6:30.
That would be nice, actually, if we could alternate, because 6 is a little dicey.
What about 6:30?
6:30. You got Frank here, it's not him to. PTA just got back, they have another meeting, their regular meeting's on the 14th, so they're gonna try to see if they can do their regular meeting at 6:30 on 11/16 and then continue with the night. So I would say let's put that in as a tentative go for community meeting on Thursday, the 16th of November. Okay?
Okay, We agreed on
I don't know.
6 or 7 or 6:30 or what for the second?
6:30.
It's a nice compliment.
6:30? 6:30.
We'll be half an hour late.
6:30 on the second.
I'll make the motion.
Do we have something under other?
Yes, there is an item under other, proprietary specifications.
Yes, so I sent out our letter and some backup information to the whole committee. We didn't get it on the official agenda. We'd like to address it under others, Larry said. We have 4 items that we are recommending and we need a vote, well, we'd like a vote from this committee. We need a vote from the selectmen as an elected body in order to follow mass procurement law. I think the best process would be if the building committee recommended these items to the selectmen to officially approve as proprietary items. Under mass bidding law, just very quickly, you need, I think I went over this last time, you need 3 manufacturers for every single product. And if you want to do less than that, then you need a vote from the elected body and written reasoning. So the memo I sent is the written reasoning why. In addition, I provided some cut sheets just so you know.
Like the one in
what
German.
language-
Yeah.
Yeah. They have pictures.
Yeah, cool.
So very quickly, I can, if you have questions, I can't translate the German, but I have the bucks. The school guard is a safety glass that's going to be outside the vestibules. We've been with that before. Electric hand dryers, when you combine speed and low noise level, again, we think the Dyson is the single choice. There's a limited amount of all of these. Diffusion glazing, again, aesthetically, there's one other product that works the same, but it looks like
awful.
building paper stuff on the, as I wrote in that. It looks unfinished. And then finally, the Knox box, that's a very standard specification. Knox is the system that this fire department uses in Raleigh, and that's 1, 2, or 3 rapid entry systems. That just provides ready access to the keys for this building, and they want to use the same as all the other buildings, because basically the fire department has a key to the box. And the box lets them have all the keys to the building. So we've done all, I think Debbie had asked, we've done 3 of these a number of times. We just haven't done the hand dryer before, but I don't anticipate a big protest on any of these.
And the hand dryer rationale is primarily driven by noise, just because, when you go out and, everybody's seen the accelerators and they work great. But, if you get young kids, sometimes it's a little scary and, they're just loud.
They are loud.
Yeah.
Dyson Airblade is fantastic. That's a
It just,
great
I
product.
sent the picture,
Oh,
both
yeah.
of them are.
I've seen them when I use them.
It's the newer.
It's the newer one, it's not the one.
It's not the one you go in, it's the one you go under.
Under,
They're
right.
fantastic.
Okay, we have a motion to approve all 4.
Second.
Yeah.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The recommendation to the select. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.